Hi and welcome to Teach the Table. I'm Nathan and this is Magic Maze. This is a cooperative game where you're trying to control a barbarian, a dwarf, a mage, and an elf and help them rob the shopping mall to get their equipment and then escape before security guards find them. What makes this game different is that any of us can move those adventurers, but we can only move them in certain ways or take certain actions as indicated on the action card in front of each player. So make sure that north is facing the same direction as indicated on the map, and then that tells you what you can do. So for instance, I can only move players north, so I can move any adventurer north as many spaces as I want. I cannot move them south, I can't go east, west, or do any other actions. The goal of the game is to explore the mall, hopefully revealing tiles like this, which have an icon indicating that the dwarf needs to get there in order to steal his equipment. However, all the characters need to be on their corresponding icon before any of the equipment can be stolen, so they'll have to be there at the same time. Once all the equipment is stolen, players all need to make their way to an exit to get out of the mall. All of this has to happen before the time runs out. And the other interesting thing is that there's no communication that can happen between players except for staring at a player. If there's a player you want to make a certain move, you can just stare intently at them. Or the thing most people will be doing is using this pawn, which is called the do something pawn, which you place in front of someone. If there's an action that you want them to do, you just place it there to indicate please do something. So once the game starts, it's a frantic mad dash of trying to move characters around and work cooperatively while not being able to communicate with each other and only being able to do certain things. I should mention when moving characters, you can't move through a spot where there's other characters in the way. So we would have to move one of these characters out of the way first before we can move this yellow barbarian down to this area. Besides the basic action of moving characters in one direction, there's also some other actions. This one allows a player to move someone up the escalator. So if this mage was here, this player could move the character up the escalator like so. There's also portals in the game, which you can think of them more like spawn points. They're not really portals. So you can go from anywhere on the board and go to the portal of that player's color. So basically we'll teleport you to this portal. You don't have to be on a portal to move to another portal. The last action is this magnifying glass. So if a character gets to the spot with a magnifying glass of their color, then the character who has this magnifying glass action can draw one of the new tiles and place it there, matching up to the arrow pointing up out of the exit. One more thing about the portals though, is that after all the characters have stolen their equipment when they're trying to just escape the mall, portals can no longer be used. So this tile here gets flipped over to indicate that, and the person who has the portal action, also on the back it shows portals can no longer be used. So once players have stolen their equipment, that's out of play. Although there's a timer that you don't want to run out, there is a way to get more time back potentially, and that's by going to the sand timer icons here. So if any character goes there, you can literally flip this sand timer over. So you want to use it carefully. You don't want to do it right after the game has started, because then that means that you're going to have not very much time left. But once the sand timer is getting close to running out, you can do that. Flip the sand timer over, and that'll get you some more time. Once those spaces are used, however, you put a little X token on there, so they can only be used once per game. The other fun thing about turning the sand timer over is that once you do this, all players can stop their actions and take a moment to talk. The timer will still be running, but they can talk as much as they want, and then once any actions start, they have to be silent again and no more communication. The manual has a number of scenarios, and the first 7 scenarios teach you how to play the game by adding little rules as you go. So I've told you all the rules that you need in order to start the first scenario. Scenario 1 just has each character getting to their icon of their color to steal the equipment, and then escaping the mall, everyone escaping through this purple exit. Scenario 2 will add new exits for each character, so every character has to go through the exit of their color when they're escaping the mall. Scenario 3 adds a rule that every time you go to the hourglass icon and flip over the sand timer, you also rotate your actions one player over in clockwise order. Scenario 4 adds some tiles with an orange wall on them, and that indicates that only a dwarf can go through that small little hole in the wall. Also, when an elf gets to this spot to explore new tiles, then all players can communicate. So it's kind of the same way that players can communicate when they flip over the sand timer, that they can do that every time an elf reveals a new tile. Scenario 5 has a crystal ball icon on one of the tiles, so when the purple mage gets to it, then the player with this explore action can place 1 or 2 map tiles around the board anywhere that they like. After using it, a little X goes on there to indicate that you can't use it again. Scenario 6 adds security cameras, and if there's 2 or more security cameras showing, then no player can go to the hourglass icon to add more time. The way to disable them is to send the barbarian down. If he lands on it, then you can place an X to disable it like so. So now, since there's only 1 camera, people can use the hourglass again. So if you want to jump right into the full game, those are all the rules that you need in order to jump into scenario 8 or higher. And that's all you need to know in order to play Magic Maze. It's a 10 to 15 minute game, but a good little adrenaline rush. Thanks for watching Teach the Table, and don't forget to have fun.